You're watching Experience Comic Culture and Sales. Streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
2, 1.
Everybody, welcome from the Frozen Everywhere. I'm sure you're in the Frozen Everywhere too.
I think it's funny when people from the South say it's frozen.
It's as frozen as we get, I guess.
We would kill for the temperatures you have right now. And Lyle would judge us all.
Probably. The good news is that it's a perfect week to sit around inside and read comic books.
That's fair.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Make Two. Hey, Castle. Triple B. Kenneth.
Look, I put some stuff on my wall.
I like
it's not
it.
not a whole lot of stuff, but
that's a great looking poster.
I know. Got it from a great place.
That's a good run too. If you guys have never read that run of Exo Man of War, even if you don't want to read anything ever again that's Valiant, read that one.
Yes, absolutely.
I have a bunch of new art that's got to go here, but none of the frame places have frames.
There was a run on frames?
No, the place I go to get matching frames just had a massive sale.
Oh, yeah.
John, you don't get to talk. In fact, mention it again, you'll get muted.
Oh my word. 71. I'll take that.
Yeah.
That is literally 90 degrees warmer than it was here this morning.
No, thank you. All right. Let's talk about some books.
Start.
I still did this wrong.
Well, you didn't know what I was going to do today anyway. Perfect.
There we go. Okay. All right.
Okay, so this is a cool book that, surprise, is late, but is Ironic Press putting together a bunch of cool stories, Festivus style. And many of them are related to one of Ben Dunn's main characters. And now my brain is going to completely stop for who that girl is. Dadgummit, I hate this when this happened. But she actually, I believe Ben's been talking about on his own pages that like Hollywood's come sniffing around this character that he's created. It'll take me 2 seconds to look. So there's a bunch of different stories, not all done by him. He actually asked for other creators to tell stories built around this awesome character, Tomorrow Girl. Sorry, see my brain works occasionally. Tomorrow Girl. So if you like a bunch of different, like have a bunch of different people's takes on a really cool character. This is cool because it has a variant that is homage. So if you have to have every homage of this cover, it's actually really nice. She's got really good eyes. So anyway, this is it's only $5 for the regular cover on it, and it has a ton of material in it. So if you just want to ignore the fact that it's probably not Festivus time. I don't even know when Festivus happens, but I'm assuming it's more Christmassy than it is now.
Festivus is December 23rd.
Okay, well, they're late, but better late than never.
But I got some real problems with you people. Let's begin the airing of the grievances now that the book is out. That was a George Costanza's dad reference for anybody who's not.
Air of Grievances is awesome. Oh, that's a messed up cover.
Oh, love it. Love it. This is still doing the 3 timeline thing. I guess that's just how the book's going to be. But it felt like this time we spend the most time in 2093, which is where the book usually opens up. It's 2093, 1993, and 1380. So once again, Ash has got to find the Necronomicon, but this time the pages are scattered. They're not all in one book. And he has to fight droidites.
Droidites.
Droidites. It's the future. You got to make everything robotic and futuristic.
Okay.
He loses his boomstick, but he ends up with a zoom stick. This thing is awesome. This first part also shows us that even cave-dwelling mutants can't resist Ash and his new sexy haircut. In the 93, Evil Ash is having like a kind of like a dual personality talk in the mirror kind of thing between Evil Ash and like the really gross pieces of Ash. Like you see that reflection in the mirror, and it's actually pretty funny. They're going back and forth. It's pretty funny, and he ends up smashing the mirror. And if you've seen Army of Darkness, you know what happens when Ash smashes a mirror. So we get those fun little things show up. It feels like we spend the least amount of time in the 1300. So I'll just say that things in that timeline aren't what they seem. This is a really fun book. I've enjoyed all the Army of Darkness stuff from 1979 to Ash versus the Evil Dead. They're all really good. This is definitely top of my list for favorite Dynamite books. Fans of the Evil Dead franchise, if you haven't checked this out, you should. And if you're not a fan, you should check it out anyway because it's a really fun read. I gotta find the button. There we go.
Oh, Cable. Okay. So this fits straight into this big grand finale that they're leading up to for the fall of the House of X, in which Orcus has really destroyed all of mutant kind's ability to do anything. They've taken the Sentinels and given them Tony Stark's Iron Man armor, so they're extra terrifying and have nanites to be able to heal themselves. And you've got also this cool desire for this Cable to find his younger self, Ascani's son, because Orcus has kidnapped him to try to find out, because he knows, they all know all the future stuff that's happening. And there's another big threat that is in play. We don't know 100% what it is. They've given it a name in this book. And Cable's desperate to find Ascani's son to prevent Orcus from finding out any more about it, because he knows that will usher it in more quickly, or they'll know how to get there. So this is, we're getting to the point where like, okay, well, what comes next for this big Hickman storyline? And they do have a plan, and it looks like, everyone that's still out there is super terrified about what's going on.
Okay. So I wish this book was later in the show.
We'll skip it.
No, because, well, then I don't want to end on a bad note, Jay. So you put the best book of the week as my first book to talk about. I think I got to take over the PowerPoint presentation. Okay, good. So here's the deal. Borealis is a really interesting book. In the first issue, you find out about this Alaskan state trooper who goes back to her hometown to investigate a rash of murders, only to find out that her history in her hometown is questionable, to say the most. history of drugs and alcohol, and maybe even a little bit of non-consensual couple-based acts that she has gone through in her seeking of drugs and alcohol as a young person. We find out in this issue that she got taken away. Her grandmother sent her away with a cop that she trusted to a bigger city where she could be safer than in this little small community. She comes back, and what you see in the first issue is that at some point when she becomes stressed, her eyes start to glow and things start to explode. That's issue 1. Issue 2, she figures out why, and it's insane.
Is it an alien STD? Just gonna guess it.
No.
Oh.
It is related to some Inuit mythology that is based around the Aurora Borealis, around the Northern Lights.
I like that better.
Spirits and demons and other worldly not necessarily extraterrestrials, but supernatural beings show up around the Aurora Borealis, and she has the ability to something with them. We don't exactly know what yet. Her grandma, in the first issue, you learn that her mom is dead and that her grandmother's raising her. Grandma knows some stuff, man, and she ain't telling. And then these things kill grandma. Right. So this girl's got to figure it out in her own way, while also dealing with these demons from the past and like corrupt cops and murderous gangsters and, you know, people breaking prohibition and all this kind of stuff. And there is an amount of bloodbattery in this book that you don't often find in books with like mythological creatures. But it's very, very fun. Oh, and by the way, like this cover where you see all of the people just in a million pieces, whole book, just everybody's in a bajillion pieces unless they're a prostitute or a cop. So figure that one out.
So the cover is not a lie.
No, the cover is very accurate unless, of course, you're a prostitute or a cop. That's the thing I'm taking away from this book.
Did you tell everyone who the co-creator is?
Oh, yeah. So this is, well, I didn't realize it when I read the first issue who all was involved. But this is Mark Verheiden and Aaron Douglas. And you know Aaron Douglas from, like, I don't know, 10 Years to Death, Shock, a whole bunch of Aftershock stuff. But the art is Cliff Richards, who, you know, has done a bunch of stuff at Dynamite, a bunch of stuff at Aftershock, a bunch of stuff, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Justice League, Batman, Superman, all kinds of great stuff. So great art too. This, and I said this, I was talking to our Jen and I's friend Matthias before the show, and I said, this is already ready to be an HBO or an FX miniseries. Like, doesn't need any adaptation. It's ready.
Okay, so this is the one of the books this week where I'm going to say it feels like, remember when you read Kingdom Come for the first time and you were like, this is the best thing ever made on the planet, and the whole world lost their mind? That's what this feels like. This is incredibly good. And I think that, I hope stores ordered enough. This basically takes the world of the Avengers and moves forward pretty far. Steve's old. He's lost the super serum, or he's given it away. So he's just an old man. Luke Cage is no longer mayor of New York, and he's an old man too. And then, you know, like, they get together in the park and hang out and talk about the good old days. Steve has made a run for office and has been basically, it's very clear that the public's not having whatever he's selling, which is the truth. They would much rather be told all kinds of fancy lies. And so this is just like all the earmarks of like, oh my gosh, this poor people, they gave their lives for everything. And you get to see Tony Stark's son, who's just a douche. Like, if you thought Tony was a douche, oh my lord, the douchest. So this is a beautiful start of a really important storyline, I believe. I'm excited to see how this rolls out. The end is what you want it to be for this first issue. And Zdarsky Man, I thought with your Daredevil run, I read the best of you, and that's not true at all. This is next level stuff, dude.
Yeah, the winner on this is the Scotty Young cover, though. Just
it's true.
Throwing it out there. I mean, Sparkly Blade, come on.
And it does feature the death of a character that you're going to care about.
Miss Jen, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Do you have this book right there by you right now?
I do have this book right there by me now.
So Axel is credited on the web. Do you know, did he contribute, or is there some of this that was his plotting from the old days? Do they list it differently in the book? Because on the web, Axel Alonso is credited.
It just says special thanks to Axel Alonso and David Gabriel.
Right. Okay. So I'm just going to get it and have him sign it. Never mind.
Yep.
I'm not going to have David Gabriel sign it, but I will have Axel Alonso sign it.
Why not? It's got the best knees in the business.
Because you know why.
he's got the best hand. If you guys have never met David Gabriel, he's the VP at retail relations at Marvel, and he's a super sweet guy. But he is the most tan person on the planet, and he always has really great knees.
Yeah, he is. He's a very nice guy, but he is the VP of obfuscation and not answering questions. That is his title.
It's okay. He's a delightful human.
Great guy. Like, and believe me, he's done a ton for Marvel and for comic books. But like, bro, just answer my questions. Don't beat around the bush. Just tell me what I want to know. Okay.
Demogorgon on a boat. And this book already sold me with that.
Does that make the Demogorgon fish people?
No. No. Now, the premise of this, it sounds like Alien. There are aspects of what happens throughout this story, though, that makes it different. You know, people trapped on a ship of some kind with something chasing them. You know, we've all read that story before. There are characters in this that aren't tied to the show. So, I mean, if you've never seen the show, other than looking up what a Demogorgon is, you don't have to watch the show. You really should watch the show, though. It's really good. But you don't have to watch it to understand anything. Shut up, Kyle. The story moves really quickly. The art's really good. There's tension. There's a little, I kind of saw that coming, but kind of didn't at the same time moments in here. Like, I dug it. If you're a fan of these types of, hey, we found this monster, let's take it overseas on a ship. No way anything bad could happen. It's not like anybody's gonna, let it loose and it's gonna kill people in pretty gruesome ways. That couldn't happen. Never heard of things like that happening before. If you're fans of stories like that, you should definitely check this book out. Again, you don't even have to be a fan of the show to enjoy this one. I thought it was really good.
All right.
I had to read this issue because of the cover. Like, that's the darn sexiest Superman I have ever seen. So I haven't read anything before this, so I have no idea what the context is for it, except for I'm going to give you kind of the synopsis. The way I understood it is that Superman is having trouble with Lex Luthor. There's a bunch of bad guys that also seem to be trying to hunt Lex down. This tale takes Soups and another character. I'm going to mess up her name. I think it's Molly Midnight, who seems like she's from the Superman universe from long ago and has been brought back as a ghost by one of these Legion bad guys that they think they're going to force her and use her somehow. But there is a time travel machine that they've been using to mess everything up. And I'm not 100% certain whether Superman gets forced back into the past or if he finds a way to get to the machine to go back there, because one of the bad guys is hiding out there to try to affect the future. So here you go. Here's Superman in the Wild West trying to deal with this bad guy who has basically what amounts to a laser pistol gun in the Wild West. But Soups has got this super awesome other character with him who just, I don't know if this character has been around before as a character design. Is really cool looking. She's like got this long black braid that's got like, looks like light that's woven into it. And it's unclear how powerful she is. But anyway, this is part of an overarching storyline that's been part of Superman. But I managed to jump in and not be too confused about what was going on. The art is really cool, and you do get to see Superman in the Wild West riding horses. So I liked it.
Sexy Superman, I'm sold.
That's right.
Why does Superman need a holster? It's not like he's going to use a gun.
Oh, and the other thing I forgot to mention is that he's been damaged. He like gave up a lot of strength to I don't know if it was related to the time travel or whatever. He's been damaged pretty heavily, so he doesn't have really his full strength when he goes. So he is susceptible to like bullets and that kind of stuff when he first shows up there. So there is like more stakes than just Superman showing up.
That looks like a fashion statement though, because I don't see where you're putting guns in that.
Right. I'm like, is that where he puts his glasses?
Maybe.
When he changes his clothes, he puts them in the holster, pulls them out really fancy, and he's Clark Kent again.
Oh, I would totally do the same thing. All right.
Something from like the Ballad of Buster Scruggs or something. Okay. So I finally figured out what the heck this book is.
Yay!
This is if the Venture Brothers were Buffy the Vampire Slayer. This is what this book is.
Okay.
It is getting increasingly more ridiculous to the point where this will be my last time I review it on this show because I just can't even anymore. I've turned into a 13-year-old girl. Here's the thing. In this book, we find out one of the vampires is in the CIA. Like, it's just like they're throwing random stuff in it that, like, doesn't really add to the story, but it just kind of, like, makes things needlessly more complicated because why do vampires need day jobs? Like, why would a vampire be an agent? Like, it doesn't make any sense. So anyway, you have this gang of young vampires who are trying to get rid of the old vampires because the old vampires are giving young vampires a bad name. Okay. But like the way they're choosing to eliminate the old vampires is through increasingly complicated and unlikely ways. Like it started off with just like exposing them to sunshine or, you know, putting garlic in their food or, you know, stuff like that. And now it's like Ocean's 11 level, like schemes. And it's just, it's getting more, it's getting away from the thing I liked about it and getting more and more absurd and obtuse. And it just kind of is like, okay, you had something good going and you've made it needlessly derivative.
Now I have to read it because now it sounds just like my thing.
Right. But it really does on every level feel like if an Adult Swim cartoon show took over the scripts of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And I think it's very good, but like I just can't keep reading it and bringing new things to the table for the review if they're not actually bringing new things to the table in the story. They're just making them more complicated. So
okay, Boomer.
Hey, I read 4 issues and I will definitely own the trade, but I'm not going to read it for this show anymore.
That seems fair. Space Usagi. In the first issue, as you remember, it was a really big deal. We actually got to see a new character. In this issue, we move forward from, as you remember, the main leader that Usagi normally protects. He has this giant invasion happen for his kingdom, and he ends up giving up his life to secure the ability for his son to escape, who he sends with Usagi out into space. In this issue, we see Usagi and the son stay around the planet a little bit because the son doesn't want to leave, even though it's clear that Usagi's been given the real, like in real life, get my son away from here so he can survive to, carry on the family line of rule and go and meet this princess who's been promised to, which will help secure the line and make us powerful to fight this bad enemy, who we get to see more about the bad enemy in this issue. And he is really real bad. And what you see there on the cover, it actually happens. They end up do escape at some point off into space, but they have a problem where they've used most of their fuel. So they can't get to their actual destination. So they end up on a planet where it just happens that the princess is also crashed. So there are dinosaurs there. This is really, really cool. It's not a very long series. If you wanted to be into it, it's a 3-issue series and number 1's out there. And should be readily available. If you like feudal Japan behavior, but in space, this is really cool.
I'm not familiar with these characters, but this was definitely a fun story. Nothing groundbreaking, but this and my next book were kind of just palate cleansing, not super violent or high stakes at all, but just fun. So basically, the 3 characters on the cover, Fang, Bean, and Bark, try to capture Sonic, and you can guess that totally. If you can guess that totally doesn't happen, give yourself a gold ring. The whole interaction is it's hilarious because it reminds you that it's not just the speed of Sonic you love, it's the sarcasm, the wittiness is what really makes Sonic for me. Now, we don't spend too much time with Sonic because it is more about these 3 characters. They're looking for the fabled 8th Chaos Emerald. They later run into Knuckles, so not a great time for them. This book is kind of like if the 3 Stooges were anthropomorphic animals. It's just a comedy of errors. It's just a comedy of errors. Pick this up if you just want something fun and light to read, or pick it up for any younger readers you may know. I think Sonic books are really good beginner books for kids. So,
not me trying to figure out where the 7th or 6th, 7th, and 8th Infinity Stones go on the gauntlet.
Yeah. Well,
because
yeah.
Cobra Commander, man. I just every single time there's a new Skybound, Hasbro related Energon Universe thing that comes out, I think this one's gonna be the one to be like, but no, it's awesome. It's like new origin story for Cobra Commander. It looks like I don't know if this is totally new or if they're saying that this is after the events of everything we've all seen, and this is how he comes into new power. So, but in any case, it does marry everything that you have liked about what's been going on with Image Skybound, and that there is Transformer crossover in this, and that it makes 100% sense. Cobra Commander is actually using one of them, a damaged one, for a purpose. So this is way, way cool. Cobra. Yeah, you definitely need it. It's everything that you want. It kind of makes this character more smart than I'm used to seeing him portrayed. He's usually more buffoonery. So enjoy having a real smart Cobra Commander.
We need to get the Skybound PDFs on our rotation.
Yes.
Yeah, I gotta figure out
because they don't show up in the image Dropbox, which is weird.
Oh, I'll have to figure out who to ask that for.
I just wrote in my hand. I just wrote a note.
Ooh, this looks cool.
Can't say anything nice. Don't say anything at all.
Really?
Yeah. It's a post-apocalyptic future with a big government, with this big praying mantis guy you see on the cover is like the representative of the big government and their big governmenting. I think this book has all the potential in the world. I think one of two things has happened. Either this was written as an OGN and split up into individual issues for release, or this book was meant to be part of issue 1 or story 1, because we've now had 2 issues of Our Bones Dust where there's a lot of explaining who everyone is and what everyone does, and not a lot of getting off the pot and doing something. And that to me is the bummer, right? It feels like a really great idea that is being executed in not a great way. Make 2, I'm out of sticky notes and it's too cold to go to Office Depot. So hands have to work. Anyway, again, you have this kind of Big Brother style government with these, like I said, praying mantis guys going around, and like they give people food and they help people, but they also track you with these trackers that get embedded into your bones and things like that. Like, okay, we get it. Let's move on. And then there are people who exist outside of this structure that are like scavengers in the desert, kind of like Waterworld. And it, like I said, it just doesn't feel like it's being executed to the best of its ability. That said, if issue 3 starts the kind of what I assume is going to be a rumble between big government and those people living outside of big government, then it has the potential to turn around and be one of the most interesting books coming out. But as it stands, it just feels a little off center. So I'm going to keep trying. I'm going to keep reading. I'm going to keep giving hope, because Ben Stenbeck is great and Dave Stewart is great. But it just isn't quite there yet. Maybe it's the fact that it's a single person writing and drawing. So the editorials maybe not quite as strong as you'd expect from Image. I don't know, but something is just not 1,000%.
Oh, the weatherman. Crazily, while I was sitting here, Nathan Fox sent me a direct message back saying he's going to be through town in February. So that'd be cool to see him. All right. I'll get you guys all set up for all you need to know about the weatherman. This is the 3rd series. The first series introduced this main character as a weatherman who was a weatherman on Mars, and everything seems great, but there's a dog that gets really killed horribly in the first issue, and so you get the mood and tone set for you. He gets accused of not being, in fact, this character at all, who's the weatherman, but instead accused of creating the circumstances under which the Earth becomes so damaged that everyone has to leave and go live on Mars. Although he has no recollection of this at all. All he knows is that he's a weatherman. So that is the first series, just so you understand that about the character. And I've been asking for a while, like, please, can we see what happens before this big event that sets them off? I want to know who he was before and what's going on. This is the issue for you. And in that way, it's an easy place to jump on. You don't really need to know any of that. this is all prequel. So in this one, you get to meet him. You find out that he was a military man before, and that he was offered a job in, like you do when you're really good at your job in the military, some kind of a above the books agency. And you find out a lot about his personal life, which is in shambles. He's not necessarily 100% a really good guy when you meet him anyway. So it's not like it's like, oh, here's this sweet guy that this horrible stuff happened to. So it's a lot of great character development. You get to see all the way up into the moment of the big event. So it feels a lot like if you're reading Reacher or watching Reacher right now, like the formation of a team and all those kinds of things, that kind of feel that has that same mood and tone for the team that he gets put part of, but darker even than Reacher's team can ever be. So you get to see how far down he's gone, or how bad he's been part of a group that did things. So great book. Way to write, Jody LaHoop, and Nate Fox always has the best art, I swear.
Real quick on The Weatherman. Just as a note, if you have read Weatherman Volume 1 and not Volume 2, make sure you have a working knowledge of the Weatherman universe before you try to read this one. Even if it is just going on Wikipedia or whatever and refreshing your memory. Mm-hmm. Because I tried to read this one too and had to stop and pick a different book because I didn't remember enough about what I needed to remember to have it make any sense to start. So a quick refresher, especially if you're a little bit lapsed on your Weatherman reading before diving into Volume 3 here, would certainly go a long way. But I also think they should have a page like at the beginning. Previously on The Weatherman, the weather happened.
Okay. I realize that this one and the Sonic before it kind of seem like softball books. And they kind of are. Let's be real. I don't have a whole lot to say about this. I'm not a brony, maybe. But I have seen like every iteration of My Little Pony, and I do enjoy the comics. I think this, along with Sonic, are pretty kid safe and kid friendly. This is about the new generation of the ponies, specifically Sunny Star Scout. She wants to start, probably. She wants to start her own roller derby team because the one she tried out for, she didn't do too good in. They were like, better next time. So she's like, well, you know what? I'm going to make my own and let everybody in and show everybody how this is supposed to be with teamwork and friendship and all that good stuff. And that's it. There's no huge stakes. This is just a light, quick read that you can have fun with and pick up in between your murder and mayhem and superhero books. The art is great. The colors really pop in this. I really like the color palette in this one. And I think IDW, there we go. I think IDW has done a terrific job with this property so far. Again, this is one, just like Sonic, either get it for yourself or, get it for kids, because I am of the mind that we need kids reading comics because that's how we're going to find the next Zdarsky and Neil Adams and things like that. So, and yes, I guess I am kind of a brony. I do enjoy the shows. So
we're going to send Jay to BronyCon on assignment this year.
Yeah, I don't know about all that, but
yeah, I'm going to make it happen.
Anyway, it's a fun book. It's a fun book.
Okay.
Oh, man.
We went from a fun book to another one of those. If you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. Triple size 30th anniversary 100-page special, and the Savage Dragon story is about 8 pages. Oh, and by the way, the Savage Dragon story is porn. Really doesn't have anything to do with the Savage Dragon that we all know and love. Or we all know and tolerate. Or we all know. it really is just an excuse to have as much dragon on human on dragon porn as you can make. And then the rest of the book is stuff that I've read before because it's already been released in other books. So even the new remastering of some of the classic stuff from the early days of Image is stuff you remember from the early days of Image. Like, so this is a little bit misleading. Again, it's important if you're currently reading Savage Dragon to read the one where everybody gets married and apparently where everybody doinks everybody else. But it really isn't. This book could have been an ash can, and probably would have been stronger for it. So again, if you're currently reading it, or if you're a Savage Dragon collector, because remember the one where Obama shows up? He shows back up in this book. So you remember some of the big Savage Dragon moments. So it's cool if you're a Savage Dragon collector, but it's not. I was very disappointed. Try not to be mean, but that's a tough one.
All right. I would love to tell you to go out and get copies of Justice League Godzilla versus Godzilla versus Kong 1, 2, and 3 to catch up for number 4, but good luck. It is a hot property. But if you can find it, go for it because it's delightful and dangerous. In this issue, you find out that Superman has been critically injured and assumed to be dead. No one's willing to believe that in this issue at all. And are just like, well, he doesn't have a heartbeat and he's cold and he is unresponsive and doesn't have any brain weight, but he'll pull through. Especially Batman.
Stick him in the sun. That's how that works.
Batman says he's not dead. He can't die. So anyway, this is them kind of splitting up a little bit to go and fight different, because it's not just Godzilla or Kong. There's other giant creatures. You can kind of see the dragony underwater creature there attacking Godzilla. That actually happens in this book, not necessarily attacking Godzilla, but he definitely appears. He's giant. And you get to see Aquaman release a giant character that we talk about. Oh, well, not really. A tentacled being.
Fish people.
No. What would he release?
Aquaman is fish people.
Oh, it's
true. It's true.
But anyway, it's awesome. It also shows you some interaction between Supergirl and Kong. It looks like maybe they might have an understanding with each other. Why, I don't know. But anyway, this is mostly about them in denial about Superman and trying to figure out a way to get him back.
Here's the question I want answered.
Uh-oh.
If Godzilla is underwater, can Aquaman use his underwater telepathic abilities to control Godzilla?
It doesn't address that, but it does address the why can't he control this dragon?
Hey, Brian Bucoletto, if you can have that idea. I don't need credit. Just write it. I need to know the answer.
Just write it.
All right.
Kyle, sorry, you broke my brain there for a second.
Right. It's not this is something that needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
Jen, can you send Nancy an email and be like, look, we need this dealt with right away?
Just don't deal with it.
Change your editorial and everything. Just, we need this dealt with.
Yeah. I'm already excited. Y'all ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Before I even get into my spiel, I am a huge fan of this series. We have the 4 trades that supposedly completed, and then Scotty Young announced he was going to be doing Tales from Fairyland, and he was going to come back, bring this character back. Super excited, and nothing about this has disappointed me at all. For those who have never read this, for whatever reason, this is about a girl named Gert who goes to Fairyland. Now, in Fairyland, when kids go there, they're given a guide, and they have this little journey they're given to find a key, and that's how they go home. This is only supposed to take a couple of hours, maybe a day. Gert doesn't find hers and is stuck there for 20 years or so. So she's still like the body of a child, but the mind of a 30, 40-year-old adult. She becomes violent. Her guide becomes an alcoholic. And Gert basically kills and wreaks havoc throughout the land. Something that's always been funny to me about the series is the over-the-top violence is okay, but you can't swear in Fairyland. So you get words like mother fluffer and puffy fluffin' and stuff like that. I always thought that was hilarious. One of the best like gags in the book for me. Now, the original story ended with Gert getting out and being an adult. This one, when it comes back, we're with Gert and she's got her regular job. She's very depressed. Eventually, she finds Scotty Young in the story. She finds Scotty. She goes to Scotty's house. And she gets sucked back into Fairyland as a grown-up. The new king finds out, gets some dude with a time machine station wagon to help him find Gerts from other parts of the story, not only from the first arc of I Hate Fairyland, but the Tales of Fairyland. Some of those Gerts get pulled in too to fight the adult Gert. This is funny. It's gory. And I will also make another suggestion on top of this. If you end up getting this and you like it, or you do like it, you should definitely check out Pretty Violent. That's also from Image. But I Hate Fairyland is just, you got to read it. It's so fun. It's so good.
I really wish they were still making the Fork Fairyland covers. You know, not to say the actual word, but like they're always a little more twisted and a little bit crazier. And they said the F word across. I loved those. I collected those for the longest time. Yeah. How many? I can't even begin to tell you how many texts I sent about this book today. This is a one shot. It's not actually a trade. I thought it was a trade because it's 108 pages. I read the first 50 or so today for the show. The elevator pitch is simple. Aliens come to Earth to abduct someone to do experiments on, but they just so happen to show up during the zombie apocalypse.
Oops.
And rather than getting a person, they get a zombie. And they're rightfully scared by the zombie, and they crash their spaceship into like Iowa and are forced to team up with the gang from Deliverance to defeat the zombies. This is Mars Attacks meets Tucker and Dale versus Evil, and they get dropped into The Walking Dead. Like, plain and simple. So this book is not... I don't know that this book is intentionally funny, but it's hilarious. Like, I don't know if Chris Ryall was trying to be funny or if it's just like conceptually it can't help it. And either way, I'm here for it. Like, aliens freaking out because they're scared of a zombie, humans freaking out because they're scared of aliens, then humans freaking out because they're scared of zombies, and then aliens freaking out because they're scared of humans and zombies. And it's like, it's the Spider-Man meme for a while, and then it turns into, oh, well, the enemy of my enemy, those are zombies. Let's just deal with them first, and then we'll deal with whatever we've got. And it's just super fun, and it's the Drew Moss art is fantastic. This is, like I said, I told more people about this book today than I ever do on this show. It's this book is super fun, and I had to save this off on my own so that I could go back and read it later. It's Image, everybody. This is from Image. It's a one shot. It's, according to the listing, it's 96 pages. The PDF's 108, so 96 pages or so. $10 book, well worth it. Cover by Francisco Frankvilla. Like I said, when I almost texted John Spilios when I read this, because this feels like a John book. Like, in that way that it's just like a comedy of errors, sort of, in a way. but also like super fun, disparate parties all trying to coexist together in this really heightened area.
Look, when you got Kyle messaging you after he reads a book, hey, you need to read this. You need to get this person to read this.
Right. I'm like, send this to Sean and make Jenna read it right now. Go.
Yeah.
Bye.
You know it's a good book.
So
that was it.
Yay.
What? I guess it was.
There are other trades out this week that are worth noting. Just because some of these contain books that are incredibly hard to get, including the Mighty Marvel Masterworks Black Panther Volume 2. It's a lot of those early Avengers Black Panther stories that are ridiculously hard to come by in single issue form. It's a great way to pick that one up. And then if you're into the super creepy Survival from Dark Horse Comics is out this week as well. Oh, and from Vault, The Savage Shores by our friend Ram V.
Another version?
Yeah, it's just a new cover.
I was going to say.
It's the definitive trade paperback.
Oh, because I've got the gold foil logo ones.
Yeah, no, this is Definitive Edition collects the complete best-selling 5-issue stories, plus original script excerpts, never before seen character sketches, never before seen concept art, and a special forward by Kieran Gillen. Yeah, so just a new version of that. So great thing. Great way to pick up that book. It's super important to all of us that you visit your local comic shop. And if you live in certain parts of the world, your comic shops have been closed for a couple of days because they're scared of snow. So, I'm looking at you, Tennessee, but, visit your local comic shop. And if you don't know where there's a comic shop nearby to you, head over to comicshoplocator.com, where you can type in the numbers of the place where you are, and they will tell you where there are comic shops nearby to you. Give them a call. Make sure they're there because they might be scared of the snow. Or they might be like Miss Jen is like, well, it's just because it's cold and snowy out doesn't mean I'm not going to open the store. And opens the store. So just call them and make sure they're there to get your books. So, do those things. It's a great way to support people. There's a ton of killer stuff out this week. And, visit your local comic shop. Spend $5 more than you did last week, and everybody will go home happy.
Yes, spend that $5 on a kid's comic and hand it to a kid. Get kids into comics.
Or buy manga. There's some really great manga out this week
too. You can do that.
My for the first time in a long time, my manga stack is bigger than my comic stack this week. So
okay.
It's going to be a weird month of reading. I'm just throwing that out there. Cool. Thank you, everybody. Stay tuned. Miss Jen is going over to CBSN to do her sales show. Tomorrow's Comics Today. And coming up right after this is Mint Hunter Comics. Yeah. And yes, if I'm going to give you all of you EXP viewers a little hint because we have time. There's going to be a big announcement tomorrow night at 10 o'clock on The Experience about what will be happening after Mint Hunter starting next week.
New stuff?
New day, same stuff. So we will see everybody next week for this show and the rest of the week for the rest of the things we do. We appreciate you being here and supporting the show. Go buy comics.